Hey guys, today I am switching out my everyday makeup drawer for the month of October. This is one of my favorite months of the year, so I'm really excited to pick out some of my favorite vampy fall makeup. First, I want to go through and give you a little recap, quickly review the products that were in my September drawer. These were the two foundations that I had in here in September. The LYS Triple Fix foundation, which is more of a light coverage glowy option, and then the Physicians Formula Butter Believe It foundation, which is much more matte and full coverage. Nice to have both of these options in. I love both of these foundations. I did actually try mixing these two together one time this month, and even though I love both of these separately, I did not like the way that they mix together. I think these two formulas probably just don't get along that well. But I am gonna go ahead and put them away so that I can pick out some different foundations. I also had the LA Girl Pro Conceal in here as my concealer. This was pretty much exclusively the concealer that I used all month long, so I felt like I really got well acquainted with it all over again. I do like this concealer. I think it's a really solid option and it has a really good shade range. It's very affordable. Sometimes I find this shade just a tiny bit too light for my under eyes. This is the shade Buff. It looks like it would be a fine shade match, but typically I like to pair it with the Sigma color corrector since this has a little bit of a deeper shade. Mine's looking a little rough, but this helps balance out the shade a little bit, so that's my favorite way to wear this. Definitely not my favorite concealer, but it is a solid option and it does the job, and it does have really good coverage too. I also had the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer in here. This I have in the shade Feelin' Shady. It's this nice, cool contour shade. I think I'm really close to hitting pan on this. Like, look how deep that dip is. This is a great bronzer formula if you like something sheer. Like for me, I have such fair skin that I prefer something that's sheer and buildable, and that's why I like this formula. But if you want something that's pigmented, you would probably hate this formula. Yeah, really enjoyed that. I'll probably roll this back into my everyday makeup drawer in the next few months and try and maybe hit pan on it. Then I also had my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer in Fair. This is another great light bronzer for fair skin. If you find like most bronzers end up looking really muddy on you, this one is fantastic. I love the undertone of this. It's just the right amount of warmth, and it really just, it's one of those bronzers that's impossible to mess up. I think the only product from my September rotation that I do want to leave in for another month, because I am just loving this so much. This is the NYX Sweet Cheeks Blush Mousse in Nude Tude. I cannot get enough of this. I've had this for a while. I think I actually bought this last fall and I really liked it then too, but then I just had put it away for the spring and summer. I was just using other products and I came back to it and was reminded just how amazing this formula is. It's so easy to blend in. It's very buildable, so it doesn't go on just way too intense right off the bat. And I just love this shade for the fall. It's brownish without looking like a bronzer. It still wears like a really beautiful blush color, and I love it. I'm obsessed. So I'm gonna keep this in the drawer for October as well. I will go ahead and put away these other two powder blushes. As much as I would like to keep them in, I do want to pull some other products in. I had the Milani Baked Blush in Berry Amour. I found I really love pairing these two together. I've mentioned that a few times this month. I was wearing both of these layered together quite a bit, but this is a really nice rosy bronze blush shade. It's a little bit of glow to it. Gorgeous blush. I am going to put that away. I also love this one. All three of the blushes in here are some of my top favorites. This is the Flower Beauty Flower Pots blush in the shade Sweet Pea. This is another blush that is just impossible to mess up. It is super soft, really just melts right into your skin as you apply it. Really easy to blend. And I love that this is such a soft, cool toned pink rather than like a super bright in your face bubblegum pink. I do feel like this shade is a little bit easier to pull off if you're really fair. This is one of my favorite highlighters. It's from Estate in the shade Lit. Gives this really pretty smooth glow. It has just the right amount of intensity in my opinion. Like I just love how smoothly it blends out, and it does give a noticeable glow, but it's not just like so blinding that it's obvious you're wearing highlighter. So yeah. This is a really underrated formula in my opinion. So these are the lip products in here. These two I keep in here permanently, the Ciate London Lip Oil and the Kokie Lip Liner in Nude. Those are gonna stay in here because I use them all the time. But these four I will go ahead and put away. I don't think I used the e.l.f. Seriously Satin. Actually, you know what? I'll keep this one in for another month because I don't think I used this at all in September. The e.l.f. Seriously Satin Lipstick in Nectar. Beautiful. I love this shade for the fall. I really just haven't been in a lipstick phase recently. But this is a really pretty pumpkin spice nude sort of shade, but I'm gonna keep this in for October just because this is one of my favorite fall shades, and we'll see if I end up using it. This, however, I loved using this month. This is also from e.l.f. It's the Hydrating Core Lip Shine in Happy. Not the most flattering swatch. Really nice, comfortable, hydrating formula. It's not like super thick or sticky or anything, just literally feels like a lip balm. This color pretty much matches my natural lips, so it's just a nice thing to have with me on the go if I want to put something on my lips that's not just like a plain lip balm, but I also don't want to commit to a full-on color either. This is perfect. You know, I was going to put this back into my collection, but now I have changed my mind. I think I'm going to leave it in the drawer for October as well, just because I've been enjoying it so much. I might as well keep using it. So those will stay. I will put this one away. This is the Sigma Renew Lip Oil in the shade Tint. I like this, but I don't like it as much as some other lip oils that I've tried, just because it is a little bit sticky and it can get a little stringy and gloopy. It's not too bad, but it's definitely not as good as my favorite, the Ciate London Bronze Glow Shimmering Lip Oil. This is the ultimate lip oil texture to me. Like, other brands need to take notes, because this is how lip oils should feel. Here, I'll swatch this one too, just so you can see. It has a really subtle bronzy glow, but it's pretty much clear. It has a beautiful amount of shine, but it's not sticky or gloopy or stringy whatsoever. But it does actually, you know, last a decent amount of time on the lips too. Like, it has some thickness to it, so it's not just gonna disappear in 5 seconds. This is my ideal type of lip oil, but don't get me wrong, the Sigma one is nice. I do enjoy it. It's just not like my tip-top favorite formula. The other lip liner I had in here was the AOA Studio lip liner in the shade Cuddle. This is like a soft peachy nude lip color. I do like this lip liner formula. To me, it's just very average. Like, it has, you know, good pigmentation. It's nice and creamy. Definitely not the longest staying power, but, you know, for $1, I think it's pretty nice. The last thing I had in here that I'm taking out is the Hard Candy Eye Def eyeshadow stick in the shade Pony. This is a really pretty, smoky, purpley taupe. Actually, you know, this also reminds me of the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize in Oyster Pearl. Not that I don't have that product, but this seems like kind of a similar vibe. I think I only wore this once this month. I wore it underneath the Makeup Geek Single Shadow in Grandstand, which is like a rose gold. I've been enjoying pairing cool taupes like this with warm, coppery rose gold shades like Makeup Geek Grandstand. And then these 3 eyeshadows I have decided to just keep in here forever, or at least, you know, for the foreseeable future. The Hard Candy eyeshadow stick in Stoned and ColourPop Ritz. That's been one of my favorite eyeshadow combo discoveries of the year. I love those two together. And I also have my Flower Chrome Crush pressed pigment in quartz. Yeah, so I think that's everything that I wanted to take out of this drawer. I've also started incorporating my monthly palette roundup into my everyday makeup drawer series instead of doing a whole separate video on it. So I wanted to quickly share with you the palettes that I used in September. I keep a spreadsheet of all of my palettes and track which ones I use each month. My most used palette in September, no surprise here, was the Nomad Ghost Town USA palette. This might be one of my favorite palette launches of the year. I just think this is such a fun and unexpected color story for the fall. I love all the different pops of subtle color in here. I just think it is like the perfect amount of colorful for me, with quite a few neutrals as well. Just such a nice palette. I always love Nomad's formula. This I used 6 times in September, if I counted correctly. I might have even forgotten to count 1 or 2 uses, but I logged 6 uses on this one. Then my next most used palette in September was actually the Unleasha Glitterpedia palette. This is the Glitterpedia number 7. This I was testing out for a review roundup. I really love this palette. Definitely more of a like spring and summer type of color story for me, but this formula is really, really nice. I'll link below my speed reviews video where I showed this and shared more thoughts on it. I'm really proud of myself. I used the Ace Beauté palette twice in September, which is more times than any other month this year. This is one of the palettes that kind of intimidates me. I actually did a whole video where we did a palette bingo with this so that I could just push myself to use it another time. I had a lot of fun with that. I ended up with a very weird mix of shades in that palette bingo, but ended up really loving the final look. So I'll link that video below. I also did a look with this in my September everyday makeup drawer video when I did my get ready with me at the end. So I actually did film both times that I used this. This palette has really grown on me. I still think, even though both times I used it as my sole palette, I kind of think of this more as like a complementary palette, where if I ever want to bring in like a couple bright pops of color, I have them in here. Just a lot of really rich shades in here that I don't necessarily have a whole lot of in my collection already. So especially like that really bright lime green, this shade. There's still a few shades in here that I have yet to use, but this palette is in my fall palette basket, so I'm hoping I can get around to using every shade in here this fall. And then all the rest of these I used one time in September, the Flower Desert Lights palette. I love this palette so much. I think the time I used this, I wore it over that Hard Candy eyeshadow stick in Stoned. I actually love this cool taupe shade with some of these more like rosy golden shimmers in here. I actually think that makes a really fun pairing. So that's how I used that. I also used my Wet n Wild Call Me Sunshine palette once this month. I love this palette. This one I actually used in my video where I was comparing drugstore products that I think are just as good as, if not better than, high-end, and I compared it to the Sigma Ambiance palette. I love both of these palettes. These definitely aren't like exact dupes for each other, but they do have a similar vibe. The Wet n Wild one is just a little bit more mustardy, but the quality on this one is so impressive. It really does feel high-end to me. I also used the Sigma Ambiance palette once this month. Love this palette. Hoping to use that a lot more this fall as well. I also used the Nomad Okavango Safari palette once this past month. I have been really into this palette. I was loving it in the summer when it first came out, but I feel like I've been loving it even more in the fall. I just love all the mossy and like browns and taupes in here. It's just so much fun. And finally, the last palette I used once was this new one to me from Alter Ego. This is the Sakura palette. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this. I don't know if I love this color story, but I'm also thinking this is probably more of like a springtime color story for me. So I'm probably going to keep it until then and see what I think of it then. I think this is a dupe for the Natasha Denona. Oh my god, I cannot keep all the names of those palettes straight, but it's a dupe for one of the Natasha Denona palettes. Not wearing a ton of minty greens this time of year, so I'm thinking maybe like late winter, early spring, I might feel more inspired by this one. So those were all of the palettes that I used in September, kind of a smaller palette roundup than usual. I feel like I wasn't wearing a ton of makeup this past month, so that's probably why. But with the September wrap up out of the way, let's go ahead and pick out some products to put in my drawer for October. Okay, so starting here with foundation, I just want to pick one foundation because I do now have my Urban Decay Hydromaniac foundation in my project pan. So that's a more glowy, hydrating option. Wanted to pick something a little bit more either satin or matte. So let's go with this one. This is the AOA Studio Buildable Satin Foundation. This is like $1.88, surprisingly really beautiful on the skin. So this will be my more matte option. Next for concealer, these are the only 4 concealers that I have. I think I usually just pick the one that I haven't used or that I haven't had in my everyday makeup drawer the longest, and I think that's going to be this one. This is the NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum. I have the shade Light. I love this one because it's hydrating and creamy, but it's not really emollient. A lot of hydrating concealers are almost too like thick or sticky. Not the case with this one. It's just beautiful. So this will be my concealer for the month. I feel like it's been so long since I've used this NYX Wonder Stick. I have this in the shade Fair. I really like this. This is a really nice product. I actually find the staying power of this to be even better than the Oma Beauty contour stick. Really nice light contour shade, and then this golden highlighter. I actually did, oh, is this like leaning over? Don't do that. I'm not usually big into cream highlighters, but I did use this once recently. I know I said I haven't used this in a while. I think at some point in the last like month, for some reason, I had the urge to try this cream highlighter stick again, and I thought it looked so nice. Like really subtle, a lot more natural than a powder highlighter. Go figure. I think that's, I think that's why a lot of people like cream highlighters. So yeah, maybe I'm getting back into a cream highlighter phase. We'll see. I want to put this in October and just see how well I get along with it. I know I like the contour side, but curious to see how much I use the highlighter. I already have that NYX liquid blush in the drawer, but I do want to pick out another cream blush because this one looks like a really pretty vampy fall color. This is the Milk Makeup cream blush stick in the shade Quickie. It looks really dark in the stick, but it's pretty easy to sheer out. Also, I know there's like a chunk missing. When I first got this, it had this like plastic thing on top, And for some reason, like when I took that off, it took a chunk of the blush with it, so that's why it looks like that. I'm not the biggest fan of this Milk Cream Blush formula. I don't think it's bad, it's just not my favorite, but I really love this color. I think this is going to be really pretty for some vampy fall looks. You can also wear these on the lips, so I'll have to try it that way as well. And then I do want to pick a powder blush as well. Let's grab this one. This is one of my favorites. I feel like it's been a while since I've used this though. The Essence, the blush in Befitting. Much more of a wearable everyday shade for me. Oh yeah, and this one also has a little chunk missing, so I guess these two blushes have something in common. I'm actually gonna skip powder highlighter because I already have a powder highlighter in my project pan, and then I have this cream one, and I just want to stick to those. Out of my 3 powder bronzers, I'm gonna pick this one. This is the Fenty powder bronzer in the Sun. Another great shade for really fair skin. I love this one. Next for lips, like I said before, I haven't really been wearing a ton of bullet lipsticks recently, but I do just want to grab one of my favorite more vampy lip colors. This is the Estate Lip Thirst in Pina. I don't know why it's called Pina because it's literally the furthest thing from the color of a pineapple, but I don't know what they were thinking there. But this is so pretty. It's almost like the really opaque lipstick version of the Milk Cream Blush and Quickie, I'm realizing. But yeah, I remember last fall I was wearing this a lot, so I want to bring that one into the rotation. And then, okay, the problem here is, I know I just said I don't like wearing lipstick, but there are some lipsticks that are like really so fall appropriate that I feel like I have to put them in just in case. So this is the Urban Decay Vice Lipstick in Olvera. Another really bold color that I don't wear all the time, but it's almost like a ketchup red color now that I'm looking at it. It's like the color of ketchup. It's they describe it as a blood orange. It looks really bright, I feel like, in this swatch, but on the lips it looks a lot more vampy, and yeah, it's just a really unique shade. So let's put that in. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it this month, but I will try. Really been loving this Say Glossy Bounce Lip Oil in Push. This is pretty new, so it's hardly a Shop My Stash item, but I've been loving this, so I'm going to put it in. This is a lip oil that has a good amount of color payoff. I mean, you can see it's still translucent, but I like that it does give my lips some color, and this is not sticky or gloopy at all. Really impressed with this formula. So this will be my go-to like sheer nude lip. For lip liner, I think I'm going to do these two. To go with the Urban Decay Olvera shade, I'll add in the Kokie lip liner in True Red. This is definitely more of a, I mean, it is a true red, has more of a blue base to it, but if I want to make that Olvera shade more red and less orange, I can pair it with that, and then I can also just wear that without a lip liner if I want to. And then I'm also going to, this is so funny to me, I don't know why, but this is just such a long lip pencil. It doesn't even fit in my lip pencil container. But this is the Wet n Wild lip liner in the shade Brandy Wine. This lip liner is like $1 and it's like double the size of your average lip liner. Also, apparently this is like a cult favorite shade from like the 90s, the shade Brandy Wine. But doesn't that look like such a nice fall brown shade? I can't wait to wear that with this Say lip oil. Last drawer, okay. For my eyeshadow stick, I am going to bring this one in. This is the e.l.f. No Budge Shadow Stick in Copper Chic. One of my favorites. I think it was last October that I first discovered this. This is one of my favorite one and done shadow sticks. It's just deep enough and smoky enough without being like too heavy on my eyes. Okay, and then the last thing I want to bring in from this drawer is actually this liquid eyeshadow from Hard Candy. But yeah, I want to do a fun purpley look. I feel like purple is an underrated Halloween color. You know, you think of like orange and black, but purple is also a Halloween color in my book. So a long time ago I used this liquid shadow with the Nomad Verona palette, the darker, more cool tone side, and it was so pretty. I want to do that again. By the way, do you guys like my nails? I did these yesterday. I'm really annoyed because this one already chipped, but I just used these little sticker decals that I have from, they're from Ciate London. As always, I love doing a get ready with me at the end of these videos to show you some of these products in action. I've already applied some of the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer like about 20 minutes ago just so that I could give it a chance to sink in. I'm actually going to do this combination. I don't think I've tried the AOA Buildable Satin Foundation with the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. I love mixing this with just about every foundation, so I think I'm actually going to mix these on the back of my hand. Okay, so I'd say that's about a 2-to-1 ratio of the AOA to the e.l.f. Mix those up. This is so weird. I had a pimple in this exact spot a couple months ago, and now I have another one in the very same spot. And I know it's the same spot because I've had like a little scar there since the other one. Also, I want to make sure I mention this in as many videos as I can. But later this month, around Halloween, I want to do Get Ready With Me reading your ghost stories or paranormal experiences. Similar to Robert Welch's ghost story series. I'll link one of his videos below so you can get an idea of what I'm envisioning here. But if you've had a paranormal experience that you would like to share to potentially be read in the video, then you can email it to me. I'll put my email here on the screen. And feel free to include any like photo and video evidence if you have it. I want to be scared. Okay, I like that combo. I'm gonna put a little bit more of the AOA foundation on my cheeks. I just want to build up a little more coverage. Alright, going in with some of my Sigma color corrector. And then on top of that, I am going in with the NYX Bear With Me concealer. Lately, I've been letting my concealer sit for a minute or two before I blend it out. So while I'm letting that sit, I'm going to contour with the NYX Wonder Stick. I'm just gonna go straight in. Even though this doesn't feel as creamy as the Oma contour, it does blend out, I feel like, just as easily. I'm just tapping over it with my brush. Alright, so now going in and blending in that concealer. I'm gonna do cream blush. I'm gonna do the Milk Makeup Quickie cream blush, but I actually want to go in with some cream highlighter first. I think I prefer just taking some of this on my finger and tapping it on. Doesn't that give such a gorgeous glow without looking, it's like it doesn't look like highlighter. I try to avoid that zit as best I can, so I don't want to bring too much attention to that. Okay, and now for this Milk cream blush, I have found this formula does not do well when it's just applied directly to the cheeks from the stick, so I'm going to pick some up on this little brush. And I'm definitely overlapping that with the highlighter as well. I like putting my blush up kind of high on my cheeks and take whatever's left on just the bridge of the nose. I'm not going to put any of the Fenty bronzer on my face because I'm happy with just the NYX Wonder Stick, but I am going to take a little bit of this down my neck just to even things out with the rest of my face. Sad news, I've also determined I don't care for this Alter Ego eyeshadow base. I haven't been having great luck with my last two eyeshadow primers. The Rare Beauty one, this one, my eyeshadow creases. The Alter Ego one is not quite as bad as the Rare Beauty, but I do still get some creasing with this sometimes. So yeah, unfortunately I wouldn't recommend this one either, but that's what I'm using today. Alright, so I went ahead and powdered. I used the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder on the under eyes and the LYS Triple Fix pressed powder all over the rest of the face. Filled in my brows with the ABH Dip Brow Pomade. For some reason I feel like the blush on this side looks a little uneven. Maybe it's just that pimple that's throwing me off, but I'm gonna just take a little bit of the Essence Befitting blush and just lightly dust over that to kind of smooth it out. Okay, so ever since I mentioned that I wanted to do this combo again, it's all I can think about. So this is what we're gonna do on the eyes. I'm really excited to revisit this Nomad Verona palette. Really, this side over here has some really like smoky, spooky Halloween vibes. So I'm not going to use the red side, I don't think, not today. I'm going to start out with the shade Tomb, this light gray. I'm going to take some of the shade Dagger now, working that in the outer corner and then just like the outer half of the crease. Next, I'm going to take some of Poison, this really rich navy shade. Got that on a pencil brush. I'm just working that right above the upper lash line. Then I'm taking Tragedy, this purple duochrome, and I am going to tap that all over my lid. Oh, yes. I forgot how much I love this palette. It's so much fun. I love this shade right here too, the shade Morse. It's this gold and silver duochrome. I'm just going to tap some of that right here in the center. Yeah, this is definitely a different shimmer formula than the most recent Ghost Town palette. These are a lot more firmly pressed Going back to that pencil brush, I'm just taking whatever is left of that navy shade down onto the lower lash line. I definitely already have a lot of sparkle going on, but I'm going to take some of this Hard Candy metallic shadow. This is my favorite shade of these Hard Candy Eye Def shadows, actually, just because I feel like it's the only one that's really unique that I've tried anyway. I know there are some that I haven't tried. Just taking that around the inner corner and a little bit up on the lid as well. I'm just going to take that down onto the lower lash line as well. Okay, now that that's dried, I actually do want to top that shade with some of Morse again, just because I feel like I need a little bit more brightness on the inner corner. Yeah, there we go. Okay, since I have a navy shadow on, I'm going to take this opportunity to use my CoverGirl Perfect Point Plus eyeliner in Midnight Blue. I am going to tight line my upper lash line with this. Alright, time for some mascara. I'm going to use the Ciate London Triple Shot XXL on just the upper lashes. And then I'm going to take the Revolution 5D Lash Pow mascara on the bottom, just because this is the only mascara that doesn't flake or transfer. Okay, I'm trying to figure out which of these lip products in my everyday makeup drawer is going to work best with this eye look. I was planning to wear this Estate lipstick in Pina, but I feel like maybe it's too berry to go with this eye look. Yeah, I think a brown nude would work. I'm going to try the Say lip oil and just see how that looks. I liked that color on its own, but I want to add just a little bit of definition to my lips with the Kokie lip liner in Nude first. Okay, this has gotten me really excited for Halloween makeup. I was also just thinking if I wanted to go really vampy with this look, I could have done like a black lipstick. I don't have a black lipstick. Usually I just use black pencil liner, but my lips are way too dry for that today, so lip oil it is. But this is my favorite time of year for makeup. I always just get so inspired this time of year, so I am really looking forward to using all of these products throughout the month. But thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I hope you had fun. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I do also have a Patreon and a channel membership if you're interested in supporting my channel further. Otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you very soon in my next video. Bye!